Yellowstone National Park is home to the Yellowstone Caldera, also known as the Yellowstone Super Volcano. This massive volcano has had three major eruptions in the past, with the most recent occurring around 640,000 years ago. However, there have been many smaller eruptions that occurred after this event, but hey, no need to worry, right? After all, the chances of it erupting anytime soon are slim to none, right? Well, maybe not. Recently, scientists have discovered evidence of over 20 previously unknown eruptions at Yellowstone. And what's even more alarming is that some of these eruptions may have occurred as recently as 100 years ago. That's right. It is possible that we may have witnessed an eruption of the supervolcano without even realizing it. So what exactly does this mean for those living near Yellowstone? Will we be able to predict future eruptions, or are we doomed to suffer the consequences of one? Let's find out. These new discoveries have raised concerns about whether the park is safe to visit. But before we continue, let me tell you something about the geological history of Yellowstone. The Yellowstone Super Volcano is located in the northwest corner of Wyoming, and it is the site of some of the most violent volcanic eruptions in history. The largest of these eruptions occurred 640,000 years ago and created the Yellowstone Caldera, which is now home to Yellowstone Lake. The most recent eruption was much smaller and occurred 70,000 years ago. However, in recent years, scientists have become increasingly concerned about the possibility of another major eruption. In fact, they have been studying the history of the volcano in order to try and predict when another eruption may occur. Their research has led them to believe that, while the chances of a major eruption are slim, it is still possible that one could occur within our lifetime. To understand the potential impact of such an eruption, we must first understand the power of volcanoes. A volcanic eruption is a sudden and violent discharge of energy that occurs when magma, which is molten rock below the Earth's surface, rises to the surface and is released. When magma reaches the surface, it is called lava. Volcanic eruptions can be caused by a variety of factors, including the movement of tectonic plates, the buildup of pressure beneath the Earth's surface, and the release of gases from magma. Volcanoes are ranked based on their height and explosivity, with the most explosive volcanoes being stratovolcanoes. Stratovolcanoes are tall, conical mountains that are made up of layers of ash, lava, and other materials. They are the most explosive type of volcano and are responsible for some of the most catastrophic eruptions in history. Yellowstone is a stratovolcano, which means that it has the potential to produce some of the most destructive eruptions on Earth. When a stratovolcano erupts, it releases a massive amount of energy, which can cause widespread destruction. The eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980 is a prime example of the destructive power of stratovolcanoes. The eruption of Mount St. Helens was one of the deadliest in U.S. history, killing 57 people and causing billions of dollars in damage. The explosion was so powerful that it was heard nearly 300 miles away. In contrast, shield volcanoes are much less explosive. They are low-lying, wide-based volcanoes that are formed by the accumulation of lava flows. Shield volcanoes are much more common than stratovolcanoes and are often found at the centers of ocean basins. While shield volcanoes can be quite large, they are not as explosive as stratovolcanoes and do not pose the same level of risk. But don't be fooled. Shield volcanoes can still be dangerous. In 1707, a shield volcano erupted in Iceland, killing around 9,000 people. This was the deadliest eruption in modern history. Yellowstone's previous eruptions have had far-reaching effects. The most recent major eruption at Yellowstone occurred 640,000 years ago and created the Yellowstone Caldera, which is now home to Yellowstone Lake. The eruption was so massive that it is estimated to have released between 2,500 and 5,000 cubic kilometers of ash and pumice. This material was carried by winds across the United States and Canada, creating a layer of ash and pumice up to 1 meter thick in some areas. The eruption also released an estimated 200 to 300 cubic kilometers of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This gas cloud spread around the world, blocking sunlight and causing a global cooling effect. Despite the destruction caused by the eruption, life quickly returned to normal in the surrounding areas. In fact, scientists have found evidence that the eruption actually helped to kick-start the development of North America's Great Plains. The next major eruption occurred around 1.3 million years ago, which created the Huckleberry Ridge eruption. This eruption was even more massive than the previous one, releasing an estimated 2,500 cubic kilometers of ash and pumice. The eruption also released an estimated 250 to 350 cubic kilometers of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Again, the ash and pumice were carried by winds across the United States and Canada, creating a layer of ash and pumice up to 2 meters thick in some areas. The eruption also caused significant global cooling. Despite the devastation caused by the two previous eruptions, life quickly returned to normal in the surrounding areas. But what would happen if a similar eruption were to occur today? The answer is not pretty. A major eruption at Yellowstone today would have devastating consequences for the surrounding area and beyond. The eruption would likely cause widespread destruction, releasing massive amounts of ash, pumice, and toxic gases into the atmosphere. These materials would blanket the surrounding states in ash and disrupt air travel and agriculture. In addition, the eruption would likely trigger earthquakes and tsunamis, causing further damage and loss of life. The economic impact would be devastating as well, with billions of dollars in damages and a significant loss of life. If an eruption were to occur today, it would be a truly catastrophic event. Fortunately, scientists are constantly monitoring Yellowstone, and there are no signs of a major eruption on the horizon. But it is important to remember that volcanoes are unpredictable, and we should always be prepared for the worst. As we mentioned earlier, one of the main ways scientists monitor volcanoes is through seismic activity. By recording the frequency and intensity of earthquakes in the area, they can get an idea of what's happening beneath the surface. An increase in seismic activity could be a sign that magma is moving toward the surface, which could indicate an upcoming eruption. Yellowstone National Park is constantly being monitored for seismic activity, and any unusual activity is quickly investigated. In addition to seismic activity, scientists also monitor the shape of the caldera. If the shape of the caldera changes, it could be a sign that magma is being added to the magma chamber beneath the surface. Changes in the shape of the caldera can be detected using satellite imagery, and any changes are quickly investigated by scientists. Scientists also monitor the temperature of the ground around the caldera. If the temperature of the ground increases, it could be a sign that magma is rising to the surface. Scientists use a network of sensors to measure the temperature of the ground, and any increase in temperature is quickly investigated. So what should you do if there is an eruption? If a major eruption were to occur at Yellowstone, it would be important to stay calm and follow the advice of local authorities. If you are in the surrounding area, you may need to evacuate, so it's important to know the evacuation routes and have a plan in place. You should also have a disaster kit ready with food, water, and other supplies that you would need in case you need to evacuate quickly. It is also important to remember that cell phone service may be disrupted during an eruption, so you may need to rely on a battery-powered radio for information. If you are traveling in the area, it is important to have a plan in place and to be aware of your surroundings. If you are camping, you should evacuate immediately. If you are hiking, you should descend to a lower elevation as quickly as possible. While the possibility of a major eruption at Yellowstone is slim, it is still important to be prepared. By following these tips, you can help ensure that you and your loved ones stay safe in the event of an eruption. There is a lot of talk about the possibility of a supervolcano erupting at Yellowstone National Park. But the truth is, we don't know for sure if it will ever erupt again. We do know that it has erupted several times in the past, and that the next eruption could be more powerful than the last. But we don't know when or how it will erupt. What we do know is that the park is open, and visitors are safe as long as they follow the guidelines set forth by the National Park Service. If you are planning a trip to Yellowstone, be sure to do your research and be prepared for anything. Don't forget to pack for all types of weather and be aware of the potential for wildlife encounters. With a little planning, you can have a safe and enjoyable visit to Yellowstone. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed learning about Yellowstone National Park and the possibility of a supervolcano erupting there? If you did, please leave us a like and subscribe for more videos like this one. We also have a podcast where we discuss similar topics. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.